Hello, everybody. Adrian Plass here yet again from our living room in our house in the north of England, and I'm with Bridget.
Yes, I'm here again as well. It's a whole day since we talked to you last, so it's not very long, really.
And things don't change a great deal. I think, though, Bridget, we ought to just let people catch up with what's happening with our eternal Monet jigsaw puzzle. We mentioned last time we were with you that we had started this jigsaw puzzle, which is so mono-coloured and mono-shaped that it could be next spring before we finish it. But today was a huge breakthrough because having done the straight bits, which of course are very important, Bridget did a little corner, didn't you?
I did. It took me about an hour to do this little corner.
No, I mean little. It's little. But there was one bit that wouldn't appear. I went through the entire collection of pieces, and at last, in one triumphant moment, I found that piece. And that alone is inspiration enough to keep us going with the Monet jigsaw puzzle. So we will keep you informed because I know how utterly fascinated you will be to hear about that. Other than that, we're doing all right. We're in contact with the people we love, aren't we? And
we are, of course we are, as I'm sure you are. And I don't know if it's your experience, but we found that again and again, people maybe they have one good day and then they talk about a day that is just flat. That somehow the weight of all this bad news and all this sadness takes away all initiative and enthusiasm, really, and they just feel flat.
And it's actually even more than that because, I mean, I've never been under house arrest, nor have you, have you? And nor most of you. But there is a strange, it's not even a fury or an anger, it's a frustration that builds in you when you know you're not going to walk out of the door and go and do something different. And each day, I think you have to battle against that flatness. I don't know if it's quite the same thing as monotony. Is that the same thing? I'm not sure.
Well, I think it is. I think surely monotony means something that just goes on and on and on without any clear end.
Yeah, and there's nothing particularly wonderful about it. But
no.
The reason I mention that is because I was remembering our son David, who, when he was a boy and he was at secondary school, I don't know whether I read it to him. At least I repeated a quotation by G.K. Chesterton, who's a bit of a hero of mine. And the quotation, as far as I can remember it, I might have got this a little bit wrong, was, if you stretch monotony far enough, it will break with a sound like a song, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's the sort of thing people write, and then you think, well, is that actually true? Well, one of the things that I've been having a go at is learning how to play the guitar properly. Now, in August of last year, when I was 17, we stayed in France, and it was my birthday. So I knew people were getting together to get me something for my birthday. I had a suspicion what it was. What I hadn't realized was what a magnificent example this was of what I really wanted. It was a guitar, a brand new guitar, and it was made of olive wood. Mm-hmm. And it made the most wonderful sound, even when I was playing it. But the thing is, I never learned to really play it properly. Now, where we're stuck here every day, and we have to have a pattern for the days, I decided that I would try to learn finger picking. Now, for those who don't know about guitars, and I'm one of them, you either strum raggedly through A, E, and D, singing things as well as you can to the accompaniment of those three very simple chords, or you learn new things. And I was quite challenged by that because I knew that there was a particular problem for me. My particular problem, as Bridget knows well, is that about 4 years ago, I had a stroke, and the stroke affected my right hand.
It could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? But it did take away your ability to do anything with your right hand, and you had to relearn very, very slowly how to pick up a spoon. It's quite fascinating, really, how the brain has to relearn things, isn't it?
It's very difficult to understand because your brain, your eyes rather, look at your left hand holding a spoon, and has to tell your right hand how to hold it. So you have to place the spoon in your right hand and actually try to imagine what it's like to use a spoon like that, and to repeat that motion, that holding pan over and over and over again. So
over and over again for months, really.
So to learn finger picking, first of all, I had to find a tutor online. You find a tutor for anything nowadays? And there was a man who simply played one finger picking. Sounds like swearing, doesn't it? He played one finger picking pattern over and over and over again. And I knew the only way to do this was to do it again and again and again for eternity. And what I hadn't reckoned with was the fact that my right hand, although it has regained much of the abilities that it had before, it made this really, really difficult. But I was determined, I have to say, and I have been sitting every day waiting for my brain to decide that it has understood and absorbed the pattern of those fingers and one thumb making that noise until it becomes at least reasonable to listen to.
Well, I don't mind listening to it at all. I quite enjoy it, really. It does sound similar, 1 minute to the next, every 5 minutes. But I knew you, didn't I, when you were 19 and you first were learning to play the guitar. And this, I can only assure you who are listening here, this is much more pleasant because Adrian was simply learning, Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man. Now, any of you who play the guitar know that there is a change of chord between Hey, Mr. Tambourine and Man. And I would wait every time to hear that amazing change, to the point that sometimes I would rush frustratedly through the door and say, man, it's man. So actually this is really nice. But you haven't said the connection between talking about monotony and David.
Oh, no, that's true. No, I was going to say, wasn't I, when David was at school, one day I read him this thing by Chesterton, which I quoted just now. Monotony can stretch and eventually makes a sound like a spring. And David was waiting for someone in his class, the teacher really, to say the word monotony so that he could say, that reminds me of something Chesterton said. I think he said, when you stretch monotony far enough, it breaks with a sound like a spring.
I thought it was a song.
Then, like a song. And then the teacher would say, good heavens, David, I am amazed at your erudition. So the moment did arrive, and David came home one day triumphantly and said, it's happened, the teacher said something about monotony, and I said it, and he was as impressed as I hoped he would be. So that may be the only thing I ever did for David, but at least he managed to do that. Yeah. So that the breaking through of what feels monotonous and what feels as though you're never going to improve it, now that there's time, and I've focused on it, I know it's going to be monotonous, but I'm waiting for the song.
It is so easy, isn't it, to settle, to draw a line and think, well, that's about as far as I can go with that, whatever it is, really. And I know a lot of people, because us over 70s are particularly stuck in our environment and have almost got to that point of thinking, well, I've gone about as far as I can go with all sorts of things. I'm never going to learn anything new. I'm never going to quite do anything new. And it can be a real problem. It's very interesting. I mean, it's some time ago, I think, and maybe even a couple of years ago, I was thinking about denominations, and I was thinking about the fact that again and again over the history of Christendom, there have been exciting things happen which then settle for something and become really stuck.
That is so true. Yeah, absolutely.
And what you need is somebody who says enough is enough. I'm going beyond this line. So you think of something like John Wesley leaving a denomination to form another one. You think of somebody like William Booth joining, creating the Salvation Army, and then how easy it is for those things to settle down and to become formulated. I'm not saying they're dead, but they do become very comfortable for people to just sit behind the line and think, I've gone as far as I can go.
And of course, we certainly in this part of the world, and in parts of the world where the lifestyle is easy, it's easy to have a roof over your head and 3 meals a day and all that stuff. If we are part of a church or a system of belief, it's easy to simply think, I'm going to stop here because this is okay. But maybe this period, as well as being a pain in the neck, is going to be an opportunity to do something about that. When you expressed those ideas to me some time ago, I had just been to Holland to stay with David, the same son.
Oh, yeah.
And the combination of that, when I met him in a park there, and the ideas you'd had resulted in the poem you're going to read to us now, which is called Once I Walked With You.
Forgive me, Lord, for once I walked with you, but when I found some level ground, I pitched my tent, and there I stayed on comfort and on pleasure bent. Yet when they asked why I was settled there, I looked them in the face and said with conscious pride, my Lord, my friend, my Jesus brought me to this place. Yesterday, by means that you will know, I learned that birds in parks are tamed by being fed. So saddened was I by this dreadful truth that when I went to bed I cried and could not rest nor sleep. But look, the dawn has come. There is no time, no cause to worry or to weep. I see you in the distance still. And as you walk, you turn your head and smile. I only wish to follow you, and I shall try to be content if I am never more allowed a place to lay my head or any pleasant level ground on which to pitch my foolish tent.
I think one of the things that strikes me is that it's true for me, and one always says for others, but it is for me, that there are issues, there are knots I've tied in my understanding and my perspective, certainly as far as faith is concerned, that I've either not needed to tackle because there's so much distraction, or because perhaps I don't want to. Perhaps I'm frightened of what happens if you take the lid off. I don't know. Someone told me a story a while ago. It's not my story, and I've never heard it anywhere else, but I'll tell it to you briefly. It's about a very controlling minister. And don't be shocked, everybody. They do exist. And this very controlling minister had to choose a carpet. And he knew it had to be a red carpet or a blue carpet. So we got together 3 people who he knew would agree with him, or he thought they would, and he sat them down and he said, right, we have a very, very short agenda. We just need to choose the colour of the carpet. I think red. What do you all think? I think red. What do you think? What do you think? And 2 of the 3 said, yes, all right, red. The third one said, well, hold on a minute. We are Christians, aren't we? And the minister said, yes. And he said, well, I just thought, maybe we should pray about it. And the minister said, well, I suppose we could. So he said a rather perfunctory prayer. And when the prayer was finished, a huge voice came down through the roof of the church and said, I want blue. And the minister said, well, that's still 3-2, so we're going to have red. And that may be one of the knots that some of us have to untangle, to say to ourselves, is it actually true, this theory that in the end God is in charge, that he has some kind of purpose, some kind of plan? We don't know what it is, but we have to give ourselves to that. Now, I'm not preaching that. I'm asking it for myself and for anybody else for whom it might be relevant. And in fact, I think, having said that, I'm going to have to go away and actually do some real thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all we've got time for today. But we've enjoyed being with you again. And do join us next time.
Yes. Goodbye then for now. Bye-bye.